This past weekend, former NFL running back Doug Martin tragically passed away. The details around his passing are still pretty scarce, but the information that's been picked up by the major news outlets is really sad and pretty shocking. I'm honestly not ready to fully believe him just yet. Like, there's just gotta be more to this story. Doug Martin didn't play in the league for that long, only managing a 6-year career. He only started all 16 games in 2 of those seasons, and he rushed for 1,400 plus yards in both of them years. Dude was a beast. Doug Martin only stood at 5'9", but if you've played or at least just watched a lot of football, then you know that describing somebody as small based on height oftentimes will not give you an accurate description. Doug Martin was short but stout and powerful. Dude had the perfect build for lateral movement, balance, that compact strength, and most importantly, when it comes to football, leverage. One of my favorite memories of Doug Martin was in his rookie year when he rushed for 251 yards against the Oakland Raiders. He rushed for 4 touchdowns in the second half alone. And I didn't know it at the time, but dude is from Oakland. No wonder he went off. This was a homecoming for him. The Raiders traded away their first-round pick that year to get Carson Palmer, who had literally retired. But with that move, they forfeited their opportunity to draft Doug, so they didn't pass on him directly. He still seemed to take it kind of personal though, as he hit him with one of the all-time great rookie performances in the history of the league. He became the only player in league history to rush for touchdowns of 70 plus, 65 plus, and 45 plus yards in the same game. Then he threw in a goal line touchdown just to show the full array of utility. Speaking of utility, in that rookie season, he rushed for 1,450 yards. And then he added 500 receiving yards, giving them 1,926 yards from scrimmage. That's a Buccaneers franchise rookie record. Unfortunately, he couldn't follow it up in the way that he obviously would have liked to. In year 2 of his career, he injured his shoulder, placing him on season-ending injured reserve. Then on top of that, in year 3 of his career, my man only played in 11 games. After that crazy rookie year, nobody expected that his next 2 seasons wouldn't even total 1,000 rush yards combined. By only year 4, Doug Martin's career was already at a crossroad. If he performed outstanding, he could sign a deal to become the Buccaneers franchise running back. But if he didn't perform well or got hurt again, he can be relegated to an injury-prone journeyman. After that amazing rookie year, no one ever would have guessed that just a few years later, the Bucs would decline Doug's 5th-year option. But they did. And now my dude had to perform if he was ever going to see the generational wealth that players dream about when they make it to the NFL. Doug responded with a crazy season that resembled that of his rookie year. Once again, he rushed for 1,400 plus and was named to both the Pro Bowl and first team All-Pro. It was just in time for a nice payday, but the payday never would truly come. Let me break it down. So the following year, 2016, Doug signed a 5-year, $35 million contract with $15 million of it guaranteed. This should have kept him with the Bucs for 5 more seasons, but he was gone after just 1 more year. You see, the same year Doug signed his contract, he was suspended for violating the league's substance abuse policy. He tested positive for Adderall, which triggered a negation clause in his contract. So, because he was caught violating the policy and was then suspended for the infraction, this meant his $15 million guarantee was now going to be completely negated. This is why some players hold out for contract language. Little things like this can cost you millions. Doug was released by the Bucs that next year, so he only saw a small percentage of that contract he signed. Then he signed with the Raiders, his hometown team, for a year, and he performed solidly. But after yet another injury, he was released and retired from the NFL. When it was announced that Doug had passed away this weekend, it was a shock to us in the public. I mean, the man was only 36 years old. Then the reports that came out next about the nature of his passing in a whole lot of ways was just as shocking. The following information is according to reports from several major news outlets. NBC Sports, the LA Times, Fox News, the New York Post, and so on and so on. Early Saturday, the Oakland police were responding to reports of a home invasion. The Oakland Police Department issued a statement that the suspect in the burglary was having a, quote, medical emergency. A brief struggle with the suspect then ensued, and the person became unresponsive after being taken into custody. He received medical assistance from the paramedics at the scene and was then taken to the hospital. According to the reports, the suspect in this report was, of course, Mr. Doug Martin. At first, I didn't think this was legit because early this morning, it was only being reported from like 1 or 2 sources. But as the day has gone on, more and more publications have been picking it up, including all the major publications that I mentioned earlier, which obviously adds a lot of credence. And these are initial reports, so there's a ton of information that we still don't have. That's how this always goes. So while naturally speculation will take place, including from me, in this video, speculation will be based on the information we have, and I'll draw a clear distinction between what was reported and what's my opinion or speculation theories. So let's keep that in mind and keep the two separated. That said, the reports bring up a few questions. Why was Doug Martin burglarizing a home? Over the years, I've done so many videos like this, and I still struggle to believe these reports at times, especially when the details are so scarce and I have no supporting information to make them make sense. But I included the Adderall suspension and the subsequent negation of the guaranteed money because I feel like that's relevant due to the current accusations. There is a line of logic that he could have had some money issues, considering the fact that he had a short career, missed out on most of his big contract, and hasn't played in the league for nearly a decade. Personally, I'm gonna need a little more information before I file this accusation as facts in my head. But for now, this is what's being reported. With that said, like we saw in the Mark Sanchez case, the initial reports can paint a story in a completely different light than what the true story ultimately ends up being. The Mark Sanchez situation was said to be over a parking spot, which isn't technically completely untrue, but when you watch the video, you get a completely different feel. Like, what played out there wasn't the road rage incident that it was painted out to be. And that may or may not be the case for this story, but that's why I don't think it is at all unreasonable to hold a healthy level of skepticism. As an empathetic person, it's hard to imagine just how dark things must have gotten in my dude's life for him to get to the point where he'd even considered doing something this crazy. If it ends up being true that he broke into somebody's home, CTE is likely gonna be heavily considered. Personally, I'm not there yet, but I wanted to mention it because I know somebody out there is already thinking it. And I know some people hate when you bring that up early, but based on what is being reported, in my opinion, is not an unreasonable assumption. Moving that to the side, it's tough out here these days as a man, and sometimes people's backs are put against the wall, and sometimes without any medical conditions, we let the pressure get to us and we make horrible decisions, which is another possibility in this situation. If you find yourself on the brink of one of these choices, I'll be praying that your better judgment prevails. As I'm going through the story, I just keep wondering, what was the nature of his medical emergency? The first report I saw simply stated that he died in police custody. Immediately, my heart dropped because of the history of police in this country, escalating situations as opposed to de-escalating them and operating out of fear and sometimes spite as opposed to leaning on their training. We're past the point of pretending this don't happen. In an attempt to eliminate foul play as a possibility, I just kept reading through the report, bro, over and over. The report says the Oakland Police Department, simultaneous to receiving reports of the burglary, were informed that a person at the same location was experiencing a medical emergency. Okay, got it. The report then goes on to say that despite the medical emergency, a brief struggle ensued when the officers got there. This obviously makes me very curious about the nature of the emergency and if after experiencing the medical emergency, Doug was still a threat to the police when they got there. I'm simply reading what's here, but these are the thoughts that start to go through your head. It's possible, and I hope that it is the case, that they followed every protocol, did everything they were supposed to do, weren't negligent, were on top of it, and followed their training, and the fact that the past had nothing to do with human interference. And if you wonder why I'm extending so much empathy to a person who was said to be breaking into a home, it's because I know this person made millions of dollars and is famous and still decided to break into a home in his hometown. Knowing that gives me the idea that this person wasn't mentally well. That's really all the information we have at this time, and this is kind of becoming a theme as I cover current topics. That first video just kind of sets the stage for the story, and then in later videos the story truly unfolds. We know these legal processes take a while to play out, and this time a man has passed, so we should have no problem being patient as we await additional information. Now, the officers have been placed on administrative leave, which is not a condemnation by the department against these officers in any way. Based on what I've read, this is just a protocol when a suspect passes while in custody. This is the protocol that they follow. So while I am aware that I laid out some speculation and some things that popped up in my mind, I'm just human. I'm not predicting the future, just giving you my thoughts. So let's not jump to any conclusions as of yet. Lastly, I just want to say rest in peace to Doug Martin, and if you pray for the man family, because no matter what the circumstances are behind this, those close to him will obviously be deeply affected. As of now, that's all we have on this story. For more football stories that take place off the field, click one of the videos on screen that you haven't seen yet.